Oh shit. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the straight fucking card. Red card.
I was gonna say, did you say straight fucking card there?
Yeah, I am a little bamboozled after today's game. And I've been partaking while watching the game. And here we are. We're going to do the review of the United States versus Switzerland, which is a friendly. And before we give our general thoughts, I did tune into Filippo and Pete's show on 11 Yanks. And, they're going to get criticized because they were pretty negative for 50 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes, they were like, well, here's a few good things that happened. But, I think most people are going to agree with most of their negativity. But Brett, You're more of a glass half full guy. I mean, how did you see this?
Sometimes it feels like I'm glass 3/4 full, being a Chicago fan and all.
You must be.
Man. No. So, I only watched about 10 minutes of their recap because I had to put the kids to sleep and everything like that. But I plan on going back to rewatch it. But yeah, that first 10 minutes definitely was highlighting some of the negative aspects of the game. And I can't say I disagree with most of what they were saying.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, nope, I understand the frustration there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that went on, in my view, that we've seen over and over and over again, and it just keeps happening. And that, for me, number one, is that Berhalter starts out with a game plan. It works in the first half. The other manager goes, yeah, we're not going to let them do that.
See what you're doing there.
Yeah, we're going to stop that from happening. Then they do it, and they play a higher block, and they press, and they give us less time on the ball, and then we have no answer. I mean, Gregg's got no shiftability. Like, it's one mode, and that's all you get from Gregg, and that's concerning, frankly.
A lot of my negative take on the game really is that, we start off with like you said, a great game plan that seems to be working. The other manager makes an adjustment, and then all of a sudden Berhalter makes some subs that are 1-for-1 likeness. We take out this person, we're going to put the exact same type of person in there to play the same role, but nothing ever changes. And that was a little frustrating. I noticed today, especially.
And as you say, it's not just the subs. It's also once the team begins to press you a little bit harder up front and plays a higher block, you have to occasionally have a plan to hit a ball down a wing and let somebody go chase it, like Weah later in the game. And there was some of that, but there wasn't enough of it. There wasn't enough of an adjustment. We continued to try to play through their lines, and we just didn't make any changes. It was the same game plan. Play out of the back, be brave, and that's all fine and dandy. But when the other team adjusts, and then they're specifically targeting your left back whenever he moves forward, they tuck a guy right behind Des so they have an open lane.
Yep.
I mean, they went down the left all day because Des went up and then...
Our left, yes.
Our left.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was one of the big issues, is that with our backs getting up, it left our center backs exposed, especially with how slow and flat-footed they are. And here's the thing: you don't need to make complete game-changing tactic changes as a whole. Why not mix it up a bit? If you're used to just playing it out the back and trying to be brave and move the ball up that way, why not for a 5-minute spell start playing a little more direct? Make the opposing team start second guessing themselves, like, oh god, we need to make sure they're not going to play over top our heads here. And they start backing up a little bit, then you can continue with your game plan and just mix it up a little bit. You don't have to completely change it, but at least address it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they're playing that high of a line, at some point you're going to have somebody at the midline make a break for it and just looped it over the center backs' heads and let them go get it. But that never happened, and we very rarely even had a plan to do something like that. But you have to, and we didn't have the right player to do that either. Like DK would have been the perfect guy for that.
I was going to bring this up because you mentioned Luft, and all I can think about is our past video where we're talking about hoofing it and loofing, and I was like,
yeah. It's like, I mean, you've got to come up. You've got to have, as you said, you don't need a complete revamp, but what you need is more options. You need to be able to adapt, and that's what Berhalter just has shown. Game in, game out in his whole tenure, he is unable to do. He just throws in new players. No new plan, just new players. Now, okay,
fresh legs. It worked in the first half. We just get fresh legs in there. We'll be good.
Yeah, right. Now, that might work sometimes, but doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. And then we were so susceptible to the counter. And I think it was Pete who brought this up, and many of the posters on his show. Whenever we lost the ball, everybody just kind of stood around, and that's true. They did.
So yeah, I agree with him on this game about that. But he almost alluded to the fact that it was like an every game occurrence. I think this game was sort of a rarity in that sense, because usually in the past, and then maybe it comes to the fact that we're playing a higher quality team now, and maybe the lesser quality teams we were able to recover a bit better. But I feel like in previous friendlies and stuff like that, I thought that we did a better job as far as recovering if we lost the ball, especially immediately recovering.
Yeah, and we did better in the first half, but I want to make sure that people know, out of the starters, Aronson did not stand around. Sargent did not stand around. Leggett didn't stand around. Yule didn't stand around. McKennie kind of stood around occasionally.
Yeah.
So Death stood around a lot. So for me, Cannon, he just had
I'm still just not sold on the guy.
I am not either, Brett. And this is just, I can't.
It's not that he did anything horrifically wrong by any means, but
he didn't do anything
good either. So I mean, I feel bad, but in the sense that, but he's just not doing it. Whatever it is, it's not there.
No, it's not.
Best way I can describe it.
I mean, and I'll be frank, Cannon's not going to get much better than he is right now. And you're going to say, well, he's only so old. He can get better. Well, he can get better and wiser, but tactically, he can get better. But technically, I think he is who he is. I don't think that Reggie Cannon is going to be any better technically than he is, or any faster than he is.
I don't know what it is, but whenever he gets the ball, it's almost like he has a lack of drive to get into the attack with it. Like he kind of wants to play kind of cautiously, if you will. And even when he gets into the attack, his crossing is lacking. But it's just like obviously he's no Dest, and quite frankly, in the attack, he's no Robinson either.
No.
So I mean, at this point, I mean,
the last two games, Cannon is playing himself off of future teams. That's what's going on right now, and I do think Cannon's limited. I really do. And I don't know how much better he's going to get than this.
He certainly could be serviceable against some CONCACAF, but beyond that, I don't see it.
I was willing to give him a shot. Yedlin came in and played way better than he did, and Yedlin only got 10 minutes. Yedlin looked more confident. He looked quicker. He, looked pacier. He really wanted to get into the game, and let's understand.
He hasn't played a game. He hasn't played a game of the United States for 3 years now. So I'm sure he's looking at it like, fucking A, I got in finally.
Yeah, he was hungry.
It's my chance.
Man. He was hungry and unafraid. He had real confidence. You could tell the difference when Yedlin took the field. Yedlin played with confidence. Like, this guy knows who he is. He knows what he can do. And he knows also that he's got the speed, even after all his injuries, to get back and cover if he does go too forward. Whereas Cannon, he looks like, oh shit, I went too forward, I better get the fuck back. Or should I attack here? Because I'm not sure if I fuck up, I can get back and help. So, yeah, I hate saying things like this guy's probably not going to be the guy. But I don't think he's going to be the guy. I'm saying it.
No, I think once Robinson's back, I think Des is back outright. We're going to go from there.
I think you're right. I think Robinson probably didn't play today because he's still kind of coming back from. He was on the bench, but he didn't play.
Filippo was telling me that he was healthy and he was ready to play. But my guess would be is that maybe they're just holding him off for Honduras. But saying that, and to bring up another point that Pete and Filippo brought up, did Berhalter not? Why did he not sub those players out earlier? He played McKinney for the full 90, Sargent for 60, 70 minutes there. Yep. I mean, it's just a lot of the key players who were expecting to play in a handful of days here played a lot of minutes at high altitude. Probably could have used a little bit of a rest, and we probably could have given some of our bench players who were rather ineffective as a whole could have got a couple more minutes in there.
Yeah, I'm only guessing that, Gregg didn't want to lose, and he thought a tie would look better, and so he left him out there longer. And I don't blame him for that, because losing is bad. It doesn't reflect well. The press is, gets a little more sketchy. I mean, not as sketchy as if you were the England national manager, but sketchy enough that he wanted to compete for a little bit longer.
But Ben, you have to realize, obviously he didn't adjust his tactics, and man, by the 65th minute, roughly about that time period, all of our attacks started looking gassed outside of Aronson. Aronson was the only one who didn't. Until
he got clipped, but yeah. He looked great. He had energy the whole time.
Yeah. But Sargent and Reyna both were getting gassed there towards the end there, and they probably could have got subbed out right around the 60th, would have been the ideal time frame. Give P. Fox some some time. I'm just going with what he's going with,
All right, Mr. Siabatu, quit throwing us so many names at us.
Give him a chance. Give Wea, a little bit more time in there. But I mean, this was an interesting game in the sense that we had a tale of two halves in the sense that we more or less not dominated, but we had more of the opportunities in the first half. They had more in the second half. I mean, I was going back through and I counted at least 5 or 6 opportunities that we could have put away. But the fact that we failed to put away is kind of the scary part of it all. That could have been the game changer right there. And it's annoying to hear the pundits, the 12 tight shirt and everything like that, talking about how like when the Swiss had like 2 or 3 chances that Horvath saved, and God, eating crow there, Jesus. Horvath had a great fucking game.
He did. I'm eating crow.
Yeah, I'll eat crow on that happily.
Yeah.
But after a couple of chances that he saved that should have been goals against us, and then they're like, "Oh, Swiss should be like 2 or 3 goals up on us." Like, well, yeah, that's assuming that the game doesn't flat out change after they score one of those goals. But
yeah, I mean,
so you can go back and you say like, well, it could have been 3 or 4 goals apiece for each team there, Well, yeah.
It's true. I mean, I think at one point, tight shirt Twelman, just to be clear about who we're talking about, did say like we should be down 5-1. I think is what he said, and I'm like 5-1. No, we should be down about 5-3. But that's if every opportunity was taken. Now the second half, yeah, I mean it got ugly and uglier.
But that first half, the Swiss only had like 1 chance.
Yeah, I mean
we held them to that. We had like I said, we had 5 or 6 chances that could have easily been converted goals. On any other day, could have been converted goals. But there's no way I would have ever assumed that we would have been up 6-1 against them in the first half. Again, once you score that next goal, all of a sudden the game completely changes. You don't have the same chances.
I think it was 7-2 shots.
Yeah.
First half. So, we outplayed them. We were the better team in the first half. But Pete did point out some things that I think are important to recognize because I think they're legit. And one of them was, hey, what's up with all the bad attitudes and whiny bitching and the falling apart when adversity hits?
We've talked about that too.
Yeah, we've
throwing your hands up in the air and moping around.
Yeah, and we didn't see that much from Reyna, but we saw Brooks calling out Des bitching at Brooks. We saw a lot of fucking infighting today that was just totally unnecessary, and that really stems from guys who are playing for really good teams that are going to the Champions League, and they don't want to take responsibility for having an error, and it's always somebody else's fault. Now, that's got to stop. That has to stop. And that's on Berhalter. Berhalter cannot let that kind of shit fester. That has to be stopped. This needs to be a team that's together, that's coherent, that cares about one another, is willing to accept and take responsibility. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Pete's right. We were right. We said the same thing weeks ago. Hey, we don't like some of the bad attitudes we're seeing. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not stopped. It's, it never comes up when we're winning 3-0 against Jamaica or whoever. But as soon as there is like some adversity and, then, yeah, we start chirping at one another. We got to stop that. Yeah. That's not a team. I don't remember ever that happening with the 2002 team, So that's got to stop.
We're just happy to be there. Yeah. But okay, so a couple more points, obviously, before the episode ends here. One thing I noticed, did you notice that Musa, when he came in, he came in as more of a number 6, and Acosta played up top as a number 8. Perhaps Berhalter's looking at Musa as being the option for Adams instead of Yule or Acosta.
I thought they both shifted, and like they would take turns playing.
I saw. Well, and it's possible they may have altered here and there, but I saw Musa back more than Acosta for the most part.
Yeah, I kind of. Who knows? I saw it more even. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I thought they were kind of playing a shifty, sort of triangle there, where there was 2 of them playing in front of the back 4, and they took turns playing that role depending on where. So maybe that was a tactical adjustment by Berhalter.
A little too late on that front, though.
Yeah. And the other thing, I would have liked to seen Hoppy. I would have liked to seen Che. I would have liked to seen Julian Green.
Sure.
I didn't get to see any of those guys, and that kind of bummed me out. And then why not shift McKenzie over when Brooks comes out, and don't put in Ream, put Miazga in so we can get a look at Miazga. Ream's clearly done. His legs are shot.
I understand the concept of going, left for left there, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, if I were Miazga, I would be offended. Frankly, I would be offended.
He's probably gonna be looking at the Honduras game and probably the finals if we beat Honduras. But yeah, no, that was not the move I would have made.
Yeah, no.
I feel like McKenzie's played out left enough to know how to run the left and play out of the left. He did it with the Union. He can do it with the U.S. if needs be, Now, so, but yeah. So no. Speaking of McKenzie, while we're at it, real quickly, talking about that first goal, McKenzie sort of drifted in too close behind Brooks for some odd reason, not marking anybody, and that forced Cannon to kind of cover his spot, which opened up the possibility of the Swiss making that cross to their player Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think tactically McKenzie made an error there.
That was definitely an error on his front there.
Yeah, and then, I don't think anybody else saw that except for you and me. And I was thinking too, why is that side so fucking wide open?
Yeah, and the only reason I saw it really is because I went back and rewatched to find out who was the fuck up on that. Not saying he was the fuck up on it, but he was definitely caused Cannon to shift in, and then once the ball was crossed, Cannon had to cover back and just couldn't get there in time. And quite frankly, maybe if he didn't deflect the ball, perhaps Horvath would have had it. But I think the deflection actually caused it a little further out of his reach. Yeah. And then that second goal occurred primarily because McKinney initially didn't track back with the guy who cut in between him, Acosta, and Dest. And then the ball came across. Now, he missed the play, but the only reason why this came into factor is because Dest came in to cover him. But for whatever reason, he did that little back heel, try to stop or deflect out, rather than just letting it slide through. Because even if it slid through, and even if his man was going to connect with it, he could have turned and at least caused some pressure there. But I don't know what that back heel thing was, man.
That was sort of like one of those instantaneous. You're a soccer player. I was a soccer player. Yeah. We never had to play defense, though. So
I did in my youth, but not in my later years.
Yeah, I never played defense. So I mean, I would imagine you're just sticking your leg out.
Yeah.
I played defense, but not as a back.
Yeah.
Center back. So
I'm sure he had no intention of the ball going there, but that was sort of one of those things I looked back and no, it obviously, from my couch I can say anything. But I looking at that, I'm like, man, it would have just been a better option for him to let it just go through. Yeah. Even if his man that he was originally marking ended up following through with it, it would have been less of an angle, and he could have still blocked it, and it would have had to get through like 2 or 3 other players. Yep. But in the heat of the moment, sure, understandable that you just put the leg out there, tried to deflect it, but that was so unfortunate. But yeah, they were definitely the midfield. I think let us down there.
Yeah, well, yeah, they certainly let us down in a lot of ways in the second half.
Yeah,
but it wasn't so much their fault. They were getting overwhelmed, and they were being pressed, and Berhalter had no answer for it. So there's that. I guess again. Apologies to Ethan Horvath. You played very well.
Yep.
Then MLS has already declared Sebastian Lletget the American Player of the Game. That's convenient. Although he was. I mean, he was one of the best players out there.
I saw. I don't know where I saw it now, but I saw Horvath winning it.
Yeah, he should.
Maybe that was US. Maybe that was from USSF that announced that.
Should have been Horvath. He played
absolutely.
The best. Yeah, I mean, he made some amazing saves, and the goals weren't his
like fault. MLS is just showing a little bit of bias there.
Well, that might have been the intention.
I think Lletget played well, despite the criticism that he's gotten from other people. I thought he played well, and his goal was great. He almost had a brace there, but there's no way he outplayed Horvath in that game.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think Horvath. I mean, he was like screwing around with the ball back there sometimes at his feet, and I thought, "What are you doing, dude?" And he's like doing some Maradona shit back there.
Yeah. Not only that, but him coming out and getting to the ball first on that slide, even though it was called offside. It was in the second half sometime, but just the fleet of foot of getting out there and getting there in time. I mean, he had a great game. I can't take it away from him, and like I said, I'm happy to eat crow with that.
Me too.
Definitely contending for that second spot.
Shovel that crow in.
Yep.
All right, I think we're done here.
Yep.
Okay, until the next time on the Straight Red Card, we've got a follow-up to this show because we were sent several questions, and so we're going to answer those about the game, and so that'll be part 2. Catch us, I guess, tomorrow on that if you're watching it today. All right, cheers!